Alrighty, first you're going to need the broken phone, of course, then a new screen replacement for your phone, a Phillips screwdriver, a 5-point screwdriver, an iSesamo or metal opening tool, then the plastic opening tool for disconnecting connectors. Alrighty, let's get started. Let's move the tools out the way and the screen. We don't need that right now. And firstly, we're going to grab our 5-point screwdriver and take out these 2 screws. I'm going to speed this up a little. Alrighty, the next step we're going to do is actually open the phone. So take your iSesamo in the bottom left corner and just stick it in there in between the metal frame and the screen. Pull up slightly and then rotate the iSesamo so the screen pops up. Be careful not to dig too deep. There is a connector for the home button. Now shift over to the right side and do the same thing and pop the screen out. And don't open the phone all the way just yet because we have to disconnect the connector for the home button, which I'm going to show you highlighted in 1 second. Alrighty, take your plastic prying tool and disconnect the home button connector. Make sure you keep up with the metal frame that goes over the home button connector. Don't pull too hard on it, just be pretty gentle with it. Alrighty, now the phone is open, and what I want you to do is grab your Phillips screwdriver and remove those 4 screws and the metal plating, which I will show here. I'm just going to speed it up a little. Make sure you keep your screws organized. As you can see, I keep them organized over towards the right side. Keep them in the place where I took them out from, and then I put the metal frame next to it so I can remember where it goes. First, you want to disconnect the first connector of the screen, then the second connector, and the last connector is easily taken out. After you disconnect all 3 connectors, you have successfully removed the screen. Next, you want to remove these 2 screws using your Phillips screwdriver. Then after those are removed, there are 2 more on the opposite side of the screen. Remove those and make sure you keep up with those and properly place them so you can know where to get them once you have to return those screws to the new screen. Next, you want to go down to the home button and remove the single screw. It should be on top of the black part, and what you want to do is after you unscrew that, pull that flap back so you can reveal another screw. Next, you want to take out these 2 screws over the metal plate. Once you take off those 2 screws and the metal plate, make sure you put them aside and keep them organized like we did earlier. Then you want to take the screwdriver and just gently poke out the home button, and then it actually peels off the screen like a sticker. Next, you want to remove the 3 screws from the proximity sensor, and that is also the ear speaker. After removing those, what you want to do is pop off the metal frame, and then also take off the speaker, and then you want to grab your iSesamo so you can get under the proximity sensor and actually take it off like a sticker as well. Be pretty gentle, and the proximity sensor is connected to the metal plate, so don't peel it all the way off just yet. You will take the whole metal plate off the screen and it will be transferred to the new screen. Now it's time to grab our new screen, and the first thing we want to do is screw in the screw that is located in the top right corner. Normally that screw stays in when you're replacing the screen. Next, you want to pop in the proximity sensor in the spots that are cut out for it. So be pretty gentle. You don't want to rip that. You will mess up your camera and everything like that. So then you want to lay the proximity sensor down and the front camera in its perspective cutouts. And then you want to grab the ear speaker. So the ear speaker has 4 gold springs on them that actually connect to the 4 gold circles on the proximity sensor. So I'm going to show you how to properly place that. So just pretty much align that and then set it directly on top. There are 2 holes for it, so you should see those holes fit in quite nice. Then you want to grab the metal frame. It has a hook on it, so pull back the connector and stick the hook under it. and then lay the frame on top of the speaker. Now you want to put back in the 2 screws, which are going to be kind of tricky because the ear speaker is actually a magnet, so it tends to attract the screws and then you lose them. And then sometimes you just have to grab the screws with your hand and just actually put them in the hole and then screw them in, as you see right here. It kept coming off, so I just put it in with my hand and then screwed it in. Next, you want to place the 2 screws that we took out from the side. Be very gentle when holding the LCD. You don't want to squeeze too hard and crack that, and then may have to start all the way over. After putting in that screw, you want to flip it over on the other side and put in the last 2 screws on that side. And lastly, for the screen, we need to put back the home button. So what we're going to do is grab the home button and properly align it with the flap towards you. And then we want to grab the metal frame that was on top with the round part towards the bottom. Place the 2 screws back in. After placing those 2 screws back in, what you're going to do is fold the black flap up where the connector is and screw the very first screw we took out back in. After replacing that screw, what you're going to do is grab your phone, and then you want to connect the first connector. Make sure the screen is 90 degrees towards the phone, or you're going to have trouble, maybe even rip the connector. So you should hear a snap, and it should be in there quite snug. Then the second connector, and lastly the third connector. They all pop straight in. Then you want to grab the screen and then press the button and make sure it comes on, the touch is working and everything. And then we're going to grab our metal frame and put that back on top along with the 4 screws that we took out earlier. I'm going to speed that up right here. Make sure you're very careful in where you're putting your screws. Make sure you're putting the screws back where you took them. You don't want any problems. Next, you want to grab the home button frame and the home button connector, and you want to lay the phone screen down, and you want to actually connect the home button connector with your hand. It's the same way. You'll hear a little snap. Then I'm going to use the tweezers to actually grab the home button frame and put it on top, but you can use your hand. And you'll see here I put it on top, but I actually connect it with my hand because it is a lot easier. So it just pushes straight on top and snaps in place. Next, you want to grab the top of the screen and push in downwards. It has 2 hooks in it, and those lock in. Then you want to push the screen on the side. Don't push too hard because you may crack the screen if there's like a screw underneath it or something like that. It should fit right in place. Now what you'll see me doing here is actually pushing the screen forward because the phone is actually slightly bent. So after getting this screen in so far, it was still hanging out a little. So you grab the iSesama and stick it in that gap, and you want to actually pull the metal away from the screen, thus fitting the screen in more snug. So you'll see me do it to the left. I had to pull the iSesama out a little. So I pull the metal of the frame away from me, away from the screen as well, and then the screen pops in. And then I do it to the right side. And then as you'll see, the screen fits in properly, and you want to put in the last 2 screws. After putting in these last 2 screws, you have successfully completed the iPhone 5S glass and LCD replacement, and your iPhone should be working perfectly fine. Right here, I'm going to test the customer's phone. I don't have the password or the fingerprint in there, so you can see it does give me the try again. So the Touch ID is working, as well as the back and front camera, and the touch is working. It's your boy Jesse, and I'm out.